The New York Islanders did not make a trade to free up cap space, but they did land the best pure goal scorer in this year's NHL Draft. We'll hear from him, analyze all the picks, and preview free agency, all that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. What a weekend it was for the New York Islanders. We have got so much to discuss. The draft is over. Free agency about to begin. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all season long. And during the offseason, hirings, firings, trade rumors, the draft, free agency, if it's happening to the New York Islanders, we'll discuss it here on the Locked On Islanders podcast. And it's always great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. So, most people, myself included, expected Lou Lamoriello to trade away his first-round pick for the fifth consecutive year. Lou surprised all of us, held on to both second-round picks, held on to the first-round pick, did not make a trade at all during the draft. And in the draft, the Islanders, sticking at 20, choose Cole Eiserman out of the U.S. development team. And look, Cole Eiserman, the good news, he is a bona fide, and I do mean bona fide, goal scorer. Talent-wise, probably the best pure goal scorer in this year's NHL Draft. There are other things about his game that maybe people question a little bit more, but from a pure goal scoring standpoint, he is outstanding. He's been a left wing. He's a native of Newburyport, Massachusetts, 6 foot, 197 pounds. So he's already got good size. And the amazing thing is he is only 17 years old. He will not turn 18 until August 29th. Last year for the U.S. Development National Team, 25 goals in 24 games, 34 points. The year before, 28 goals in 32 games, 44 points. You look at the scouting report, and, it opens with a dynamic goal scorer in the truest sense. Let's face this fact about the New York Islanders. They have not had a bona fide sniper on this roster, realistically, since Ziggy Palffy in the late 1990s, and Mike Milbury was ordered to trade him away basically because the Islanders refused to pay him what he was worth. But right now, Cole Eiserman gives the Islanders somebody who certainly has the potential, and again, I'm talking about potential, to be that kind of a goal scorer. And the amazing thing about him, he's already committed to college, but he's not going to be in college this fall. it's a year from this fall because, yes, he is 17 years old. So, again, you're looking at a player who the bad news is he's probably a minimum of 3 years away. But the good news is he brings a lot of dynamism to his game. His puck skills are rated above average by scouts. His skating is not bad. It's rated as average, and yet, he has those one-on-one skills, and he's a strong skater. He may not be the fastest skater, but he's a strong skater, and his shot is listed as high end. The comparison made by many scouts about his game is Owen Tippett. Now, you look at those numbers that I mentioned before, 25 goals, 9 assists. That's what we in hockey call a Cy Young Award winner. Because if you look at the back of someone's baseball card, a Cy Young Award winning pitcher, a record like 25-9 back when pitchers used to have enough starts to have a record of 25-9 would qualify you as the Cy Young Award winner. He's not the best playmaker in the game or passer in the game. He does tend to shoot a little too often, but again, he's 17 years old, and he has some time to get rid of some of those habits of, maybe the way he plays defense, maybe the way he doesn't always pass the puck the way he's supposed to. And he is aware of these shortcomings and the things he needs to do. So I want to play a clip. We have an interview that Eiserman did with the press shortly after he was picked. This is courtesy of J.D. Young of Locked On Sharks, who was at the NHL Draft over the weekend, and he sent this over to me. So here is Cole Eiserman discussing a little bit about his game and what it means to join the New York Islanders.
I guess can you just describe your game and maybe what you bring?
Yeah, no, I definitely a shooter that loves to score goals, and I'm going to bring a positive attitude and definitely a competitive side. And as time goes on, definitely going to be able to be more physical and use my body a lot. So,
what kind of sense when you met with the Islanders? I'm assuming you met with them at some point. What kind of sense did you get, from Lou or from anyone else?
No, it felt really good. I felt like they really kind of understood me as a player, and I always respect people like that because it takes a different mindset, I think, to kind of understand how I think and how I play the game. So obviously, it was very comfortable, and I'm super excited to be with them.
What do you mean by that? What's different?
Yeah, no, I definitely see the game different than a lot of people, and whether you like it or not, it's something that I'm going to bring, and they like it, and that's what they're excited about. So,
do you have anybody on now right now?
Not personally, no. Nope.
What elements of your game did they seem to like when you talked to them?
I think they see my goal scoring and they see what I've done with it, and they love that, and they didn't think about the other factors of it, and they just they picked me for me, so I'm really excited.
What's it like having Andrews here to welcome you to the team?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Seems like a really solid guy, and obviously a really good player, and he's a captain for the reason. So,
what's your relationship with Dan Wilson? And
yeah.
How exciting is it, to sort of know you're the future?
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Nelly's a great kid. And, I saw him got drafted last year, and I saw him and his family, and they were super excited to be an Islander. And here I am now, a year ago. So,
what was it like, watching Macklin? Everyone knew he was going number one, but to see that.
It was super cool. Obviously, roommates freshman year, and our 14-year-old kids, and now we're both drafted in the NHL, so it's pretty cool.
The goal, you've mentioned the goal scoring a few times. What are other elements of your game that you think you can bring or that you want to improve on, just kind of rounding it out?
Yeah, obviously just being reliable defensively and being able to play more than 15 minutes a night, being able to kind of be in all situations. And that year at BU is going to be huge for me, and I'm super excited to kind of learn.
When you describe your game, sometimes Matthew Barzal either gets described that way or he describes himself as, seeing things a little bit differently. Eventually, if you get to play on the team, what's it like to have a guy who understands that mentality?
Yeah, no, it definitely helps. There's a lot of players who kind of think that way. I think you gotta have a different kind way to look at things, and obviously to have a guy like that, you can kind of respect each other and definitely can work with each other. So.
All right, there is Cole Eiserman. And again, thank you to JD Young of Locked On Sharks for recording that at the NHL Draft shortly after Eiserman was selected. Look, you can debate whether the Islanders should have kept or traded this pick, and we will discuss that in the coming days. But to be able to get the most dynamic goal scorer in this draft, pure goal scorer, on a team that hasn't had a pure dynamic goal scorer in more than 20 years on its roster, is a great move by the New York Islanders. Will it help the team win this year? Absolutely not. But down the road, will this be something that if Cole Eiserman works at his game, gets the proper coaching and development, that he could really be a difference maker for this franchise in 3 or 4 years? Yeah, it does. And the fact that he fell to the Islanders at 20 and that they were able to take a chance on him, given that you held on to the pick, this was as good of a move as you can get. Is it a bit of a gamble? Yes, but anytime you're drafting 17 and 18-year-olds, projecting what they're going to be at 21, 25, 30 is always a gamble. The NHL draft is like that, and I think this was a very smart gamble by Lou Lamoriello. Now, you got to work with this kid, develop his game, and let's see what he can do down the road. But the New York Islanders selecting Cole Eiserman of the U.S. National Development Team with their first overall pick in this year's draft. We have got a lot more to get to. We will break down quickly some of the picks on day 2. Plus, the Islanders did announce a coaching change. We've got free agency coming up. And, oh, yeah, for our Islanders' birthday of the day, an offensive-minded defenseman who spent 1.5 seasons on the island in the very late 80s and very early 1990s. Let's see if you can guess who that is. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Mets fan, Yankees fan, you want to bet on NFL futures, NHL futures, you can check out all the odds at FanDuel.com. Head over to FanDuel.com/LockedOn and start making the most out of your summer. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the New York Islanders had a busy day 2 as well. Everybody expected that they would be trading one or both of those second-round picks in an attempt to basically free up some cap space and improve the roster short term. They didn't do that. Instead, they use both picks. So with their first pick in the second round, 54th overall, they go with Jesse Pulkkinen from Finland, 19 years old, so he's overaged, 6'6", 203 pounds, played in 2 leagues this past year in Finland, in 35 combined games, 4 goals, 12 points, 26 penalty minutes, and a -2. And Pulkkinen just really gives the Islanders some size. He has really some unique abilities that the Islanders certainly could benefit from. And I think that overall, you really just add that bigger defenseman that you really need in this Islanders organization. So again, adding a scorer and then adding a big physical defenseman, you're sticking with some of the things that this team really needed, and that is a good thing. And he made a lot of progress this year, handles the puck well, especially for a big guy. Not gonna put the most offense together, but he's confident. He plays in all three zones, and he has a lot of things that really kind of look good when analyzing his game. Again, still going to be in Finland, not going to help right away, but a very nice pick. And then with the 61st overall pick, Kamil Bednarik added. He is a center, left-handed shot, 18 years old, a native of Elmhurst, Illinois. Also on the U.S. national development team, had 30 points in 27 games, 11 goals, 19 assists for the U.S. development team. And again, a guy who I think he's consistent, and he does have a good, even-rounded skill set. He's not dynamic. That's why he fell to the second round. He's going to head over to BU, but for college. But realistically, he is steady. He is, he has a high floor, even if his ceiling may not be as high as some of those first-round picks. And he's the kind of guy who does make the players around him better, and that's what you want to see very often from a center. In the fourth round, the Islanders go for goalies. Dmitry Gamzin basically played in the KHL last year in Russia, had a 1.98 goals against average and a .937 save percentage in 13 games. Now, again, not a very large sample size, but impressive numbers nonetheless in the KHL a year ago. And at 6'3", 175 pounds, you have a player who, you want him to bulk up a little bit and improve his size. But again, a guy who really can get the job done. And, the KHL is arguably the best top league outside the NHL in the world. And to see him play well there is certainly encouraging. Then sticking with goalies in the fifth round, Marcus Giedloff added. He is a big guy, 6'6", about 180 pounds, playing in Sweden. And again, a 2.22 goals against average and a .923 save percentage in juniors in Sweden. Didn't really move up except for one game at a higher level, but scouts are kind of high on his potential. 18 years old, and again, still going to be overseas this year. And then in the final round for the Islanders, they did not have a seventh round pick, but in the sixth round with the 179th overall pick, defenseman Xavier Vallieu played for the Muskegon Lumberjacks of the USHL. 6 foot, 190 pounds, 3 goals, 32 points in 62 games, and a native of Quebec. So again, somebody who it'll take him a little while, but he should be available and ready to join the New York Islanders. Hopefully, down the road. He is going to play at Harvard this year. So again, another player going the college route, and that is, one way to help develop players in this league. Now, one thing I wanted to hit before the break, the Islanders did announce that they would be moving on from defensive coach and penalty kill coach Doug Houda. John McClain, the power play and offense coach, he will be back. But Houda not returning to the New York Islanders. As much as I liked Doug Houda as a player, I think it is the right move, all things considered, when you look at where the Islanders' penalty kill actually finished, and you consider just the fact that nothing that was tried seemed to work. The number of shots that the Islanders gave up all throughout the season, it made sense to move on from Doug Houda. No replacement has been named as of yet, although we should be getting an announcement some point on Monday from the New York Islanders organization. Also, Lou Lamoriello, after the draft, addressing the situation of Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck, basically non-committal, saying, we've spoken to them, they've spoken to us, but nothing is imminent right now with Martin and Clutter. So we could have one of those situations where they are either not re-signed, or if they don't get the kind of offer that they want, then, maybe they come back at a lower number for the New York Islanders. That is going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But as of right now, no news on Martin and Clutterbuck. And Lou Lamoriello also said that extensions for guys like Kyle Palmieri and Brock Nelson, who have 1 year left on their deal, well, that's not his priority right now. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Doesn't mean it won't happen before the offseason ends. But right now, that is not the main area of focus for Lou Lamoriello and the New York Islanders. We have got more to get to on today's show. We will discuss free agency and qualifying offers and a whole lot more. All of that, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So the Islanders made an announcement with regard to qualifying offers, and the deadline was Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And all in all, the Islanders did give qualifying offers to 5 players. Dennis Cholowski getting a qualifying offer. No surprise that Simon Holmstrom got one. No surprise that Ruslan Ishkakov got one. All that means, though, is that Ishkakov either has to sign with the Islanders, be traded by the Islanders, or it doesn't affect his ability to leave and go to the KHL if he chooses that at all. He is free to sign anywhere outside North America. But if he wants to come back and stay in the NHL or the AHL, it'll be with the Islanders unless the team trades him. Tice Thompson also getting a qualifying offer, as does Oliver Wahlstrom. And Lou Lamoriello addressed the situation with Wally, basically saying that he is not going to let Oliver Wahlstrom go for nothing. So, and I agree with that from Lou. It would not have made sense to trade, to just not qualify Oliver Wahlstrom and let him sign anywhere else. As of right now, you have a few more hours as far as possibly trading his rights. But at the very least, the Islanders could also trade him, sign him to a contract and trade him, just trade him. All of those things make sense, even if you get a 7th-round pick or future considerations or cap relief, whatever it is that you're able to work out, it is better than letting Oliver Wahlstrom go for nothing. And Lou did hint that a change of scenery may be beneficial for Oliver Wahlstrom. I think it is the most logical move for both sides, but to give him the qualifying offer does make sense, and we'll see what happens. Now, while I was pleased that the Islanders did use their draft picks to restock a very barren prospect pool, one thing they did not do at all is they didn't announce any buyouts. They did not announce any trades. So the cap situation remains extremely small. You still have, $5.4 roughly $million in available cap space. And you still have to re-sign Holmstrom, Ishkakov, Wahlstrom if you're going to keep him. And that just leaves no room whatsoever for signing free agents. A lot of the players who the Islanders would want to trade or maybe who other teams would be interested in have no trade clauses or modified no trade clauses. So here's the deal. As of right now, the Islanders cannot be big hunters in free agency. They are not going to be able to sign, the top market guys unless they make a deal before free agency gets underway. J.G. Pageau, still in my mind, the most logical. Anders Lee, logical. I've heard some talk about Casey Cizikas. The only thing about Cizikas that doesn't make sense, you're only talking about $2.5 million. I'm sure you'd get a taker for Zeke, but you lose a lot as far as the locker room is concerned, and you don't get a lot of savings. So even if you add $2 million, at best you have $3.5, maybe $4 million to try to sign a mid-tier free agent. Look, bottom line, the Islanders are not going to be active in free agency unless they make a trade, a buyout, or some kind of move to free up cap space. And, look, the Islanders right now, the only players they have that don't have no trade clauses, modified no trade clauses, or bad contracts are the guys they don't want to necessarily part with because they're core pieces of the team. You can get a lot for Brock Nelson, but does that really strengthen your team by trading the guy who led your team in goal scoring? So I don't expect much from the Islanders unless Lou is able to make a move. And who knows? He may already be in the midst of making a trade. He is notoriously famous for keeping things close to the vest. But as of right now, it looks more and more like the team we see on the ice this fall is going to look very similar to the team we saw on the ice a year ago. Siplakov and Ishkakov may be the only two major additions. And again, we don't even know if either one of them are going to make the team, although Lou did say he didn't sign Siplakov to play in Bridgeport, so we'll see what that ends up meaning. And, it's going to be an interesting week, but I don't expect the Islanders to be major players. That being said, I hope we do see a move to bring in a top six forward, even if it's a solid second line guy to play alongside Bowen Barzy. It's better than what they've been putting out there last season, and it needs to be upgraded for sure. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And Sunday was the 64th birthday of former Islanders defenseman Doug Crossman, the Peterborough, Ontario native, originally drafted in the 6th round by the Blackhawks in 1979, made his NHL debut in 80-81 with the Blackhawks, later played for the Flyers and the Kings before joining the Islanders in the 89-90 season. He played 80 games that year, 15 goals, 59 points, was played 16 games for the Isles the following season, a goal and 7 points before being dealt to Hartford, later played for Detroit, Tampa Bay, St. Louis, and then hung up his skates after the 95-96 season. Doug Crossman, a good offensive defenseman, played 914 NHL games, 105 goals, 464 points, 534 penalty minutes, add 12 goals and 51 points in 97 playoff games, and you've got the makings of a solid NHL career. One of his better games as an Islander, January 2nd, 1990, Islanders hosting the LA Kings at the Nassau Coliseum. Mario Gosselin gets the start for LA, Mark Fitzpatrick for the Islanders. And in this game, Doug Crossman, our Islanders' birthday of the day, opens the scoring just 4 minutes and 1 second into the game. Mick Vukota, Don Maloney get the assist. After the Kings tie it at the 7:18 mark of the first period, Crossman strikes again. Again, it's Vukota and Maloney on the helpers. And with this 2-goal effort, the Islanders go on to beat the LA Kings 5-3. A goal, empty netter by Pat LaFontaine clinches it. Fitzpatrick with 33 saves for Doug Crossman, our Islanders' birthday of the day. 2 goals, a +3. He had 3 shots on goal, and that 2-point effort basically was tied for tops on the team. Pat LaFontaine also scoring twice in this game. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow on the show, we will have more expert analysis on all of the Islanders draft picks. We'll do that gradually and break it down for you player by player over the course of this summer. We'll also have our pulse on everything happening in trades and free agency, which gets underway at noon Eastern time on Monday. So a lot going on this week around the NHL. We'll see how active the Islanders actually are. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.